It's been a few days since Trisha announced they were going on Keemstar's podcast, but now that podcast is out, and fans and Ethan are calling out some lies that Trisha's been caught in. It's a mess, so let's get into it. So, people have been calling out some contradictions that Trisha has made in light of the whole Ethan and Keemstar situation. Just for a recap, Keem invited Trisha on his podcast, they accepted, Ethan got upset and felt betrayed, and now it started an entire family feud. I mean, even Ethan's mom got involved. It's literally the definition of a mess. But now people are pointing out these major contradictions that Trisha has made regarding the whole situation. Ethan is posting TikToks about it, old tweets are being retweeted, and there's even an entire TikTok page dedicated to pointing them out. The first contradiction is a tweet that Trisha made last year, pretty much saying they would never, ever do an interview with Keemstar. Not even a year ago now, they tweeted, "Keemstar asked me to come on for an interview last week for Drama Alert, and I said no. Only really sad and desperate for attention people go on there to interview about drama. It's so pathetic." Now people have been retweeting this, saying it really didn't age well since Trisha went on the Mom's Basement podcast with Keem and FaZe Banks. Now, in Trisha's defense, they did say they wanted to go on the show only to have a discussion about why they think dating a 20-year-old at Keemstar's age is wrong in their opinion. Trisha kept saying they were thinking maybe they could help out young girls by sharing their story.
But because it's something I feel really strongly and passionate about, it's something I feel like I can speak relatively okay on, and coming from personal experience, and maybe, just maybe, being on a larger platform like Drama Alert, at first I was like, no, that would never, but, you know, can help maybe someone who's in that same 40-year-old dating a 20-year-old position that isn't okay. So I thought going on Drama Alert, or even just talking to Keem, I don't know if it's Drama Alert, I don't know if it's his podcast, I don't know what he wants to go on. I am someone who can have a discussion.
Well, the Mom's Basement podcast came out last night, and we're gonna have to talk about that at the end of this video, but just keep in mind, Trisha's whole reason for going on the Mom's Basement podcast was to have this big debate and help out young girls. Remember that. The next contradiction that's pointed out is about Ethan and Keemstar's dislike for each other. In one of Trisha's TikToks, they said they really didn't have any idea how deep the issues were between Ethan and Keemstar. Trisha claimed that they've never had a conversation with Ethan about Keem, so they had no way of even knowing. But fans dug up a clip from Frenemies where Trisha literally asked Ethan if their beef was real, and he said yes and explained everything in detail. Ethan actually reacted to this clip too, and he didn't even have to say anything.
I think Ethan and Keemstar should have a discussion, even if their hate is real or not. I don't know. I've never got into it with Ethan. We never talked about it on a personal level. You dislike him for real.
He's probably the only person in the world that I really dislike, because I think he's just a really toxic force on YouTube, and he causes a lot of grief in people's life that otherwise shouldn't have to deal with. Keemstar made Hila cry once. Hila tried to talk to him, and he made her cry. He was so fucking rude.
In another TikTok, Trisha tries to say their initial video about Keemstar had nothing to do with Ethan. They claim they never talked about him in it, and they never even mentioned his name, which is also not true.
My initial video about Keemstar had nothing to do with Ethan. I didn't mention Ethan in it. So let's get right into enemies number 3. So just because I'm not on frenemies anymore, a lot of people think my voice isn't as loud, which it isn't, or it isn't as heard or as respected, which it isn't. So I'm making this video for other males, including Ethan Klein, to talk about these stories. One being Keemstar, who's like an internet troll and should not be named, but honestly the situation's like really gross. I didn't mention Ethan in it.
Trisha also said in one of their TikToks from the other day that they don't shy away from debate, and they'll have conversations with anyone that doesn't like them, that disagrees with them, and that they have issues with. That was Trisha's whole excuse for going on the Mom's Basement podcast. And Trisha was even suggesting that Ethan should do the same. Rewind to a few months ago on Frenemies, Trisha was totally against ever having anything to do with Keemstar.
I take pride in not cowering away from people I have disagreements with, people that don't like me. Like, I will always talk to, confront people that I have issues with, and I call it out.
Why should we be afraid to call him out? Why should we be scared of him?
Because it just like really affects me. I think it's just triggering him more to be more aggressive towards you.
Because nobody calls him out. People are all scared of him because they know that he's like such a psycho.
But he doesn't think he is. There's nothing that he's like, you're right, Ethan's right. It's not going to change. I don't want to keep triggering him because he is so unhinged.
But I don't like to let him have that power over me, where it's like, oh, he's so crazy that I can never call him out because he has no limit to trying to ruin your life. I do not ever back down.
I'm not going to cower and be like, I'm not going to talk to them or I'm going to ignore them or block them.
Keep me out of drama. And he's like, no, I will not. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to block you. And then he posted our conversations on Twitter. I have him blocked and I have one other person blocked and that's it. And I never see their stuff and I live very happy that way. I'm blocking you now. This is insane. I said no normal person would ever get involved with you. He's going to unblock my silent call. He was blocked. I guess I should call him.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong or if you guys don't think this too, but to me, it really feels like Trisha just switches up their opinion and stance on certain situations to fit whatever argument they're trying to make that day. Trisha also responded to one of Ethan's TikToks about the situation. Ethan posted this video showing his tweet saying how Gabby tried to come on his podcast as soon as frenemies broke up, and he said no out of respect for Trisha. Trisha actually commented on it and said, "You should have her on if you think there's some benefit to it, truly. I've always encouraged you to talk to people. Now that I'm not there, it's a good time." A lot of people in the comments think this is just yet another contradiction. It's being said that if Ethan just decided to have Gabby on his podcast a few weeks ago, Trisha probably would have made a huge thing online about it and would have said that Ethan's trying to cause drama and get them upset. Someone even said, wait, so you're triggered by the title Trish versus Gabby, but you wouldn't be triggered by Gabby going on the show? Speaking of Gabby, she actually got involved in this whole situation too. She responded to Ethan's tweet about not having Gabby on the podcast out of respect for Trisha and said, "I didn't message immediately after frenemies broke up. I messaged immediately after I put out evidence of the lies you and Trisha spread on frenemies. Still would like the opportunity to defend myself on the platform I was harassed and slandered on, please." Anyways, this whole situation is just like the thing with Jeffree and Ryland. Jeffree went on Ryland's podcast to have a discussion, and Trisha called that evil. That was like the final straw for Trisha, and they even talked about how hurtful that situation was for them on frenemies.
Really, like I was like over, and he knew about this, and like publicly having him on the podcast for views, for podcast to have 300,000 views, you couldn't delete the last one, fucking Jeffree. I told him the podcast thing was a big issue for me a lot. Take the dumb podcast down.
Ethan actually liked a tweet about Jeffree and Trisha, which said, "Trisha dropped Shane and Ryland for having Jeffree on Ryland's podcast because he accepted a deal with the devil. But when Trisha does it with Keem, Trisha is just having a debate? Okay." Now, for these past few days, Trisha has been saying like, just wait for the podcast, no one's even heard it, and they've been making it seem like they just wanted to go on the podcast to debate Keem about the whole age gap situation. From the start of this, the whole reason Trisha was going on the podcast was because they made multiple videos about Keemstar and his new girlfriend. Trisha wanted to go on and shed some light on why they feel Keem dating this girl is wrong. I was going into this podcast expecting some huge debate over that, but it didn't even happen.
What?
It didn't even happen.
Oh. Okay.
Trisha started to talk about Keemstar's weight loss, and then they go, "Oh, that's because you're happier and in a new relationship."
Yeah. You know what I did? I did keto for a while and lost it gradually, which was good. I'm glad I did that. But like recently, I've just been like raging and just eating like once a day, and you know.
Because you're happier in a new relationship now.
Yes.
Like, didn't you just make 2 videos dragging Keem for his new relationship? It turns out Keemstar's girlfriend was actually in the room with them, and Trisha didn't even know.
So, she's right there. Look at it.
Oh, wait. Really?
Yeah. She's not a child. Look.
Oh my gosh.
That's
she's a real person.
How did that get blown? Okay, anyways, first
There's
of all.
no chains on her. She's not handcuffed to the couch. She's chilling.
Hi, nice to meet you. No.
Trisha went on to say that their experience in that type of relationship was bad for them, and their real issue was the fact that Keem was hiding his girlfriend from the internet. Trisha blamed other people for kind of blowing up the story like Ethan, and said it was just them giving commentary on it. They said if Keem and his girlfriend are happy, they hope their relationship will last forever. I was just a little bit confused, honestly. Like, I wonder if a conversation happened off camera about that situation, because I was under the impression Trisha was going on this podcast to explain why they said what they said in their previous 2 videos. Ethan actually liked a tweet about that, which said, "Trisha completely changing their opinion on Keem and his girlfriend when face to face with him is weird." Most of the podcast was spent talking about David, Ethan, Gabby, and frenemies. At the beginning of the podcast, Trisha even said it's awkward meeting people face to face at their house after you've bashed them online many times. Trisha said they aren't pro Keem and they're more pro Ethan, and they don't think a friendship would come out of the podcast, but also, You never know. Trisha also posted a 40-minute video pretty much talking about the exact same stuff they already said in all their TikTok videos. They really don't feel like they did anything wrong. They aren't gonna apologize, and that's that. Anyways guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button because it really does help my channel, and I'll see you next time.